Hello, people, and yes, we did have a dip today. I was wrong about that. I didn't think, since it didn't dip yesterday, I didn't think it would dip today. Still not going to $30,000 though. I think people are freaking out about a 7-8% dip. Yes, there was a buy the rumor, sell the news type of thing, but I think we've almost hit the bottom on this. I've said before my bottom for the dip was about $40,000. I'm going to hold to that. I don't think it's going to go any further because I don't really see a reason to go any further. There's a couple of reasons for this. The PPE did come out today, and it was very, very low. A lot of products actually went down from this time last year. When we talk about inflation, we're talking about inflation in 2022, not so much 2023, because most things for prices, they actually haven't gone up this year. Some of things have actually gone down. Because gas has not actually gone up this year. It's actually sort of gone down as well over the course of the year. Of course, there are still things like housing and healthcare that have continued to rise. But the thing is, like for everything else, there's some deflation in some things. Like eggs are obviously deflation, are cheaper than this time last year because yeah, eggs were crazy last year. That was just some kind of chicken virus. Lettuce is cheaper. Tomatoes, apples, breakfast sausage, cheese, butter, frozen fish plus seafood's cheaper. Potatoes, fresh whole milk, roasted coffee is cheaper. Fuel oil is cheaper. So the thing is, like overall, the inflation for the producers was only up 1% overall from December 2022. Obviously, the CPI, the inflation for consumers, is going to be greater than 1%. It's probably like 3 or so. But that'll actually affect future prices. So the future outlook is good, which means the Fed could lower rates a little sooner than we thought. Some of you think that the Fed lowering rates will cause a pullback in the market. I think it'll actually cause a rise in the market. So yes, I was wrong about I was definitely wrong about like it not dipping once the ETF got through. There were still, like, despite all the OTC buying, there wasn't actually enough to counter the buy the rumor, sell the news. But we were still at 42.8. We were at about 46 yesterday. So a dip of slightly more than $3,000 or about 7.5%. But we're still not going to 30,000. And of course, there's some crazy people out there on Twitter, like this guy Ash on Twitter, that just won't give up on the super, super low price points for crypto. And he is still going on $12,000. And he has this interesting graph that comes up. See, this is where we are right now. But remember, this is all the way back in 2020. And because a cycle ago in 2020, it was at $12,000, he thinks we're going back there. He says, like, just because of this dip, 12K is actually coming next. You might actually think that this dip looks a bit like this dip, a part of this dip, but it's not. These are two completely different like scales. So yes, a cycle ago was $12,000, but he fails to mention that there's not been a 4-year period exact to the date where the price hasn't gone up significantly for Bitcoin. So 12K last cycle would be like 50K this cycle. So the thing is, the 12K I don't think is coming. I think these people are extremely, extremely desperate for a lower price because they failed to get in at 15 or 17K. They were waiting for 12 and 9K, and now they are not getting it at this point. Also, like a lot of the dumping right now actually has to do with Grayscale. It's like retail, but not really retail Bitcoin on the exchanges. So Grayscale was a fund, and they had a discount, and that money was locked up until now. Some of the people want to cash out now because they have significant profits, not only from Bitcoin going up, but also from the discount basically disappearing because they bought the Bitcoin at like a 50% discount at the beginning of the year. And now they can actually sell. There's no discount anymore. So they got that 50% even if Bitcoin didn't go up. Bitcoin obviously went up by like 2.5x. So they got the 2.5x plus the 50%. So they're like 375% up right now on their original investment this year. So some of them want to cash out. So they're selling the fund. The fund is selling the Bitcoin. And that's part of the reason we are getting the dump. Obviously, there's profit selling by people on the spot market as well, but we also have a lot of buys on OTC by the big funds. Not quite enough to offset the Grayscale selling, and a lot of the volume yesterday was due to Grayscale arbitrage and Grayscale selling. There's a lot of outflows from Grayscale, a lot of inflows from some of the other ETF issuers, and that's why part of the reason we got such huge volume tomorrow. But there is still a lot of retail interest, and I do believe that over time they will continue to buy these up. I think Vanguard, Merrill Lynch, those who aren't actually offering crypto or Bitcoin ETFs because of their philosophy or whatever, I think they'll start to be sorry, and they'll see like customers outflow from them to actually buy from other funds because there is significant demand from these other funds. Just because we broke the 44K support does not mean we're going to 12K. There's a lot of supports between here and there, and there's way too much demand now. I do think, like, for those of you thinking that the bigwigs will sort of control Bitcoin, I think so. I think they'll make the price a little bit more even. I don't think they can, like, prevent, like, clear pumps and clear dumps, though. They only have so much control over the market. Remember, Bitcoin and crypto, a lot of it's still held by early adopters. So these companies, while they can short the ETF and do options and stuff, they can't fully control the price. I think like there's enough supply out there where it's kind of like Wall Street Bets, or like where it's kind of like a GME or AMC. And we knew what happened to hedge funds that shorted a GME and AMC too hard. They got wrecked. And plus the big Bitcoin ETF holders are essentially just holding Bitcoin for their clients. I don't think they're actually dumping it down to get in cheap or anything. If they were going to do that, they would have done it before the ETF even came, because they had options to manipulate futures even before that. Right now, I do think it's just some of the Grayscale selling and a bit of the profit taking. Didn't think it was going to be this much, but I also don't think that we're going to go down much further. A lot of people are saying that we have to have a healthy correction to 31K in order to go back up soundly, and realistically, we don't. A lot of them have been yelling since, we went to 20K and started going up that, when we went to 30K, we have to have a retrace back to 17K or 15K for it to go up healthily. That actually makes no sense at all. A lot of people, are taking what's happened last cycle as to what's going to happen this cycle. But if you superimpose this cycle over last cycle, you can see that 2023 was vastly different from 2019 in the patterns of ups and downs. So while the general 4-year cycle holds that it does go up a level every 4 years, the specifics within the 4-year cycle don't really hold all that well, because in 2019, we actually went up in the middle of the year and went down towards the end of the year, whereas in 2023, we actually went up. We actually went down in the middle of the year, went up to the half of the year, and 2019 was basically exactly the opposite. And relying on past movements, exact movements for 4 years, to gauge this movement, I do not think is actually very, very smart. And in 2017, like when we were actually coming up, we didn't really have super massive dips. Percentage-wise, we had this particular one in, we had this particular one, I guess, we had this particular one in August, September, but that's not pre-halving. I don't think pre-halving in 2016, 2017, there was really much of a dip. I mean, a lot of people weren't in crypto at that point. And if you actually look at the halving back in 2016, we were pretty much solidly up looking at the numbers. Of course, the numbers were much smaller, so it's hard to gauge. So we didn't really have it in 2016. We had it in 2020. And people are saying, like, it always happens. Always implies it's happened multiple times. It's happened all of once for a pre-halving dump. And in case you guys forgot, in 2020, that was entirely because of COVID. Like, that was like a 5-hour dump because of COVID right here. Like literally like a 5-hour dump. And after that 5 hours, we recovered pretty hastily. If it wasn't for COVID, like shutting down all the businesses or them announcing that COVID was going to shut down all the businesses, we wouldn't have even dumped then. So that kind of reaction is probably not going to happen this time because we don't really have something like COVID. So basically you had one COVID dump in 2020, and that was basically your only pre-halving dump. And people are like, it always dumps pre-halving. Just because it happened once does not mean it's going to happen again, or that it's more likely that it's going to happen again, specifically because that once relied on a very, very special set of circumstances. And the one before that, we didn't really have that much of a pre-halving dump. I don't think I'm going to talk about 2012 because that was just way too early and Bitcoin was basically micro back then. But 2016, as far as I'm considering when I'm looking at the graph for pre-halving, it didn't really have that dump. The only real thing was basically 2020, and that was a very special set of circumstances. So I do not think that will actually happen this time because there is no virus, despite the rumors coming out of China that is going to completely tank us. I can see a retrace back to 40,000 from where we were at 46. That's a 15% dump, but that's about it. I doubt we're getting the 30 or 40% dump that a lot of people are hoping for because they actually missed the bottom. So yes, I was wrong about like not buy the rumor, sell the news because it just didn't happen on the first day, it happened on the second day. But I still don't think we're going for that massive dump to 30K because, it needs to go to 30K for us to go back up. That doesn't really make any sense at all. Never really made any sense. It only really makes sense in the context of like, I really need to go to 30K because I didn't buy at 30K and now I want to buy at a much, much lower price. But yeah, I do expect, after things flatten out towards the end of this week, maybe next week, I do expect it to slowly, incrementally going up as the big companies actually buy and as we get towards the halving. I still don't expect an all-time high until we get after the halving. So that's the news for today. Let me know what you think. Like and subscribe. Hit that bell notifications button. Thank you and have a nice day.